It's September 1st, and you know what that means. It's real close to deer season. We're still trying to kill coyotes, but we're also doing a little scouting this morning. We're down on some public property in Pennsylvania in one of the management units that come in 2 weeks before the rest of the season. And David and I have scouted this before. We had a camera down here, and we saw some pretty nice buck.
Real nice buck.
Real nice buck. And we didn't, I don't think we hunted.
Actually, one was right here.
Yeah, there was one right here where we're standing, two of them. But I don't think we hunted last year down here at all.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
We hunted that evening.
Oh, that's right.
On the ground down there.
Yep. And we're going to head over to where we were because what we did was we've been checking Onyx maps, Onyx Hunt, a little bit more. And actually where we're standing right now, kind of show you, over here to our right is where we had seen two buck when we first saw this side of the property. We had been checking the other side of the state land down here for a couple years prior, and I never came over to this side. And we came over here, and there's a lot more deer sign, and actually a lot more predator sign over here too. And we saw these two buck. Well, it's so thick along the edges here that we didn't think about getting down in there. Well, when we checked on Onyx maps a little bit more, there's actually a road that drives along the bottom, and there's a parking spot down there, and there's an access trail. It's about a 330-yard walk. That's the nice thing with Onyx. You can map that walk and see how far it is. Problem is, with all the rain that we've had here the last month and a half,
roads are closed.
That road is closed because the bridges are washed out. We can't get to that parking spot. So we're actually above. There's a clearing down in there. We're actually above that clearing that we wanted to check. So we're going to see if we can't get down into that. Is that a deer?
I think some horses over there.
So we're going to see if we can't figure out how to get down in there to at least scout that, because that was an area that we wanted to kind of maybe focus on for the opening day, September 15th here. Both David and I have doe tags for this management unit, and it'd be nice to punch a doe tag down here before the season comes in across the rest of the state and get some meat in the freezer. Well, that's thick in there. Right to our right, if you look at it right there on Onyx, that arrow's where we're at. That's the field we want to get to. And it's probably only maybe 60 yards from us right now. But, oh, they got all sorghum here. That wasn't there last time we were here. Oh, there's a deer down there. It's a big doe. That's what we're here looking at. She's going right down in. She's going right down into that field, that clearing that we want to get to. Yeah, right there. This is all planted with sorghum. It wasn't planted last time we were here. And a big old doe come right through that sorghum, right down in, going right where we want to go. She was nice too. Big doe. That's the thing. When you're, the cool thing when you might live a little bit away from areas that you want to hunt, especially when you're hunting public land. Take advantage of tools like Onyx Hunt with the mapping system that they have. I mean, you can put it on your phone just like we have here. David and I both have it on our phones. I know Jimmy does as well. And you can pull it up on your computer, and we can scout right from our offices at home. And that's what we've done here. You can see we've gridded off some areas that we want to take a look at, and there's a deer going right into the area that we want to scout and check it out to hunt. So, you know, you still got to put the boots on the ground, but you can really narrow down your focus areas before you even get here, so you don't have to spend so much time maybe on an unfamiliar area. All right, well, we're in a thick area here. And we found the trail, which is probably about 25 yards up from where that doe went in. That's got a decent tree that you could do a hanging set in and be overlooking that sorghum. And there's 2 trails that we found already, and we're only 15-20 yards at most down from the edge, and it's pretty thick in here. But I mean, if you take a look right through here, right there, it's all tore up from deer track going through. And then there's one up this way. That's the exact same. And where we want to be, the spot that we're trying to get to, is actually right over there. It's not far, but it is just really thick in here. Alright, now here's what you're looking for too. Right here's a couple of deer beds. Okay, and that's the neat thing about this, is there's a little bit of grass. Just heard a deer go down here. That might have been that doe. There's a couple of small beds right here in this thick. And what they're doing is they're laying on this hill, and they can hear anything that comes behind them, and they can look down into this thicket here because they're at eye level, so they can see anything that's coming through here. We're gonna try and sneak through here a little bit more, but these are the things that you want to look for when you're scouting new land or land that you've been on, but you're getting a little bit more into it and a little deeper. We're getting a little bit more aggressive on this property this year, so that's why we're down here into this thick stuff trying to find those areas, because sometimes you hunt the edges of fields and that the deer aren't going to come out. And this piece of state land is more for upland bird hunting, so you got a lot of guys that are down here now. Today's the opening of dove season, so there's guys down here with shotguns hunting doves. Geese are in now. So these deer are going to revert back into these thickets, so you need to get back in here where it's a little bit tighter, where they feel a little bit more safe, and try to get in as close as you can. And your shots aren't going to be much at all if you get a shot, but it's going to be hard. So we're trying to figure that out.
They're still shooting.
Yeah, dove hunters are having fun. But what we're going to do now is we're going to walk up this edge and just follow this around. There's some more food plots that are on the other side of this big field that we hunted at, and we found some really good deer last year and the year before, and that's where we saw those buck heading up to when we were in the truck driving in. So we want to go over and see if we can't get in. It's thick where they were going, but if we can find an area that we can get down over the hill where those deer were going up, it might be a spot for us to cut them off before they come up into those fields. So I'll show you something. One thing, when you're looking and you're scouting an area for deer, one of the things you want to try to do is get down at the deer's level, because we're a lot taller than a deer, so you want to see what they're seeing. And if you take a look in there, for us to walk through there, it's kind of tough. But for a deer, it's really simple, and it's dark and it's cool, so that's why they're going to stay into that thick area. And here's a good opening where they might come up out of and head into this tall grass and just bed down. So these are things that you want to look for when you're scouting new areas, especially public land, because a lot of public land is set up this way. They're going to have a lot of thick areas. You're going to have open field. You might be lucky enough, if they're able to with budgets, to plant some food plots like we're finding here. But this is where your deer are, is in this thick stuff, and you got to figure out where their bedding areas are and get in as tight as you can to those bedding areas without bumping them. Okay, so we want to show you what we're talking about when I said you want to get at the deer's level, you want to see what that deer is seeing. So here's a perfect example, and we're not going to get too close to this because, all right, first thing is we're right along the edge of another gully. This kind of swoops around, all right, and here you got a, oh, what is this, David, a chestnut? Locust, okay, and this is eventually going to end up being more likely a scrape area, and here's why. We're going to get down to deer level again. Here's a trail going right down in here. I can see probably 25-30 yards down in there pretty clear, and there's one right there on where David's standing as well. So they're coming up on both sides of this locust. There's a clearing now. That's good. Okay, we've been seeing a lot of openings where they're coming up out of these ravines. What we got to also see though is where are they going? Are they getting into this cut area and traveling, you know, one way or the other, or are they going straight across? Here we found what we're talking about. Look at this right here. Okay, here's where they're going straight up through. This is heavily traveled right here, coming up out of this bottom. All right, so this is an area where if you could figure out how to set up on them, they're definitely using this. The only problem is there's nowhere to put a tree stand here, so you'd almost have to do a ground ambush somehow, and what I would maybe do is set up by that bunch of thicket right there along that side and play the wind because that's the only way you're going to kill them right here. Well, this is one of the challenges that you're going to have when you're hunting on public land is finding a food source. And this is a perfect area where there's a food source because you've got the chestnut tree here, all right, and then we're actually in an apple orchard that the state has planted on here, and we've got, oh, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 apple trees back here that are loaded with apples. So it's not necessarily a food plot, it's just a couple of small finger fields back here that they keep mowed and the edges brush hogged. That's perfect for when they stalk pheasants. But this is where we were sitting. We sat on the ground here the last couple seasons, and we had a camera set up right in here. Well, we didn't even realize when we walked up, but now, if you can see it right there, there's a 2-person ladder stand hanging right in there. And this is a good spot because this is right where we have seen some big buck coming through. So somebody's got a ladder stand that's planning on hunting in here. And right down over here, right down over the camera, is where those buck were crossing from private onto the public land to come up in here. So we're going to see if we can't figure out a way to get down into this thicket. It looks like there's a clearing kind of over to our right here that we're going to see about. But if we can get down in there, maybe we can create a little bit of an ambush before deer would get up to this this little open area. But that's the hard part. Everybody, it's public land, so anybody can come here and hunt. And this is the tough part. You know, guys that do their homework. This guy obviously did his homework, came back in here. I mean, that wasn't easy to get that stand back where he has it, because it is super thick right there, and it is not really that close to any road. You've got at least a couple 100-yard walk to get here. So this person did their homework to get that stand back in here, and hopefully he kills a deer out of it because it's in a good spot. So we're going to see if we can't find a good spot for us here. Now what we found here is we are probably almost directly up from the road from where we saw those deer cross, those 2 buck. Maybe just a little bit more. I don't even know what's east, west, north, and south right now. But we're pretty much up the hill from where they came, where we saw them and the direction that they ran. We found a pretty good pronounced trail. David will show you right behind here. I'm going to get down at deer level. Okay, where he's standing, that's a heavy trail, kind of going right up towards that orchard or that open field. And then that trail comes down this way. And then there's another trail over here that they're kind of crossing. There's lots of tracks right down here. We've got a tree that would be a good tree to set up in right here. It's a pretty big tree. It's got a little bit of cover around it, and we've got probably maybe 10, 15, 20 yards of shooting. Not a lot of distance to shoot, but when they're sneaking through this thick stuff, the good thing is we can see pretty far, but because of the thick cover, you're not going to be able to shoot far. And another thing that you always want to watch, we saw those two buck, and we knew they had to come here because it's not the biggest of areas, and we knew they had to come through here somewhere. We just couldn't figure out where they came through until now. I'm going to show you what. Look at all the dirt tore up right here. Okay, that rub right there was made this morning. You can see this ground is all tore up from this buck in here. Just rip this little sapling to shreds. I mean, he's got limbs thrown over there. You know.
That tree's broke off up there too.
Yep. Yeah. There's a sapling he broke off up there, but he's got this one just tore up, and the dirt, the ground, the whole area is just all tore up right around in here where he was. He was not happy with this tree. And in this area, it's over just a little bit from another spot that we marked, but we got plenty of trees. We're on a side hill. It drops off really steep over here, and then we've got those plots that are up in here. But we can see we can actually shoot 30 yards in here if we had to clearing. So this is definitely a spot that we're going to get in here with and get a tree stand hung and sit, because I think we can definitely kill a deer here. So that's something to keep in mind when you're scouting state land. You know, and you're not familiar with it, take advantage of the tools that are out there today. Onyx Hunt, Onyx Maps is a great tool. You can get a lot of stuff figured out before you even get out here and put your boots on the ground and narrow the areas down. And then once you have those areas down, you come out here and those are the areas that you focus on. And you put a little bit more time, get into this cover, see where the trails are, see actually probably, you know, deer that are moving and what kind of food sources are here, and narrow it down. And that's what we've done today. So I think we got a pretty good idea of what we want to do. But next time you're looking at some new property to hunt and you want to try doing it yourself on public land, we're definitely not professionals at it. We're learning it as we go, and we're just trying to share, you know, what we're learning and the mistakes that we make with you so you don't do them, and hopefully make your scouting and your next hunt a little bit easier, a little bit more enjoyable, and a little bit more successful. So that's it for this time. We will see you guys next time, and hopefully bring you some more information and tips that'll help make your hunt successful. We'll see you guys somewhere next time in the hunting woods.